Hi there, my name's Tom. I use they, them pronouns, and I live at Corner Co-op. And in Corner Co-op, we have a toilet, that is leaking at the base of it. So when the toilet leaks at the base, that usually means that the seal that connects the toilet to the floor needs to be replaced. So here I have the replacement seal, but to get to it, we have to go through the entire toilet. So I'm making this video because I'm literally taking a toilet apart, so sorry, didn't see that. Learning experience. So here's an overview of the tools I'm using. Of course, I got the replacement seal. We're also gonna need some caulking. I got pure silicone, and I also made sure that it has some antimicrobial properties, specifically for kitchen and bath. I also, of course, have the caulking gun, a scraper to remove the old caulking, also an X-Acto knife to do the same thing, and then I'm using a wrench, or I lost it, but yeah, a wrench to take the bolts off the toilet. So before anything, you're gonna want to remove the lid, the top of the tank. Be sure to always place the lids in a safe spot where they won't fall and get cracked. It is all porcelain, so you got to be really careful with it. But let me show you the inside, and check this out because I'm actually wearing a headlamp. Boom! The inside of a toilet. So here's the lever, and when you push the lever, it pulls up that flap there. And usually the toilet's full of water, and the water drains down the tank and then out into the toilet and pushes whatever you got in there down towards the base of it where it connects to the floor. When the water level drops, this little floaty guy also drops, which activates the water to be put back in the tank and refilled, and it stops when it reaches the exact spot here. Obviously I've turned off the water, which is done down here, so that's where the water comes in to your toilet, and I've disconnected this because we're going to take the whole tank off. It's really important to always know where these are on your toilet, because if your toilet has a leak, you don't need to shut off water to your entire house. You just need to go to that valve on your toilet. Also, check out these knee pads I found in my garage. Perfect. So stylish. So the first thing to do to take the tank off is to look at the little screws here. So when applying these screws, you gotta be sure that you don't tighten it too hard, or else we'll crack the porcelain. So just be sure not to tighten it too hard, but we're gonna unscrew these and then we're gonna take the whole tank off. Also, a really good tip, like when you're taking like bolts and nuts off, is to get yourself a little plate, keep them all in there so that way they don't get lost. So now I'm gonna remove the tank. Now it still has water in it. I'm just gonna be very careful of everything and just pour it into the toilet. All right, now I'm gonna put this someplace safe on the carpet. Not like the floor carpet, like the mat that you dry off, and you'll see it in the next scene. So here's the bottom of where the tank meets the base. We have this rubber to protect porcelain on porcelain, and then these are the screws where the nut I took off right here, and then this is where the water is put in from that guy. So yeah, sometimes this is where the flap is. That's like the red flap part right there. So you just opened up. Sometimes you might need to replace this whole thing, which is this guy right here. And yeah, to do that, you gotta take the entire tank off. So that's what the toilet looks like now. So now we're gonna take the toilet off. And that's done starting with these little nubs here. You pop it off, and that's another bolt that you need to unscrew. So we're gonna unscrew those. And then we're also gonna have to cut this caulking here. It's pretty gross and decrepit because it's old. So we'll scrape that and then pop those screws out as well. Some of these caps here, you may need to wedge in to pop it out. Some are easier to take off than others, but just so you know. Fiochi wanted to drink out of the toilet. Fiochi's a bad kitty. Not a bad kitty, just one that wants to drink out of the toilet. Foolish. Foolish cat. Foolish man. Oh god, I have to carry him out. I apologize for what you're about to see. So, this is the portal to hell, I'd say. Yeah, you got gross stuff and more gross stuff, and it looks like this is a wax seal that uses, as the name suggests, wax, which should make a good sealant, but is also gross as hell. So yeah, I'm gonna take that out and put this guy. That's much nicer, and if this guy fails, the next person that has to do this doesn't have to deal with that abomination. So now that I've cleaned up that abomination, I am now removing the screws here and there, and then I'm gonna make sure that this thing is intact to see if the leak was also coming from there. But I removed this guy, which held the wax on it, so that might have been the only source of the leak. But just in case, we're gonna check this. I don't know how old it is, you know, just to be safe, just to make sure everything is where it needs to be. And we're also gonna take the new seal and put it on these guys anyway, so we're gonna have to take it off one way or another. No wax, no mess, no wax, no mess, no wax, no mess, no wax. So as you can see, I put the new guy in, and seems like that will fit, so I'm gonna use the screws that came with it, because those other screws are, use this word a lot, an abomination. Anyway, no screws, let's go. Alright, so I just checked the manual, which is really helpful, and they had a YouTube video, so I just watched the YouTube video and I wanted to share what I learned from that one. So as it says here, I prepared the area by removing the gross stuff, and then I removed the bolts, and I'm going to use the new bolts that they got me. And they went to this part where we determined the height of the flange as the flange, and there can be like basically 3 different settings, one where it's above, one where it's even with the floor, and one where it's below the floor. For this one, it's above. So what they say to do is to just put just the blue guy, just that guy on top. For other cases, they would use like a little spacer in between before putting the blue guy on top. But yeah, those are the flange types. So know your flange. So we're gonna start by putting in these nuts here, and then we turn them sideways into there. And then we're gonna be using this plastic washer. Other ones might have metal ones that you use, but this one just has plastic, so I'm gonna use that guy in there. Make it snug. And also, this is adjustable, as you can see with the tracks there. So we're gonna put it on, and we're gonna need some wiggle room at first before we tighten everything down. And remember, not too tight. You're gonna break the porcelain if you do that. All right, now we're ready for the seal itself. Seems to look good. Excellent. Now eventually we're gonna need to put caulking on the toilet once it's set and everything works. But first we gotta like put it on, test it, make sure it's all good. But in the meantime, what you can do is you can take the whole toilet, set it down gently. I have like it underneath a little like cushion there just so to keep it safe. And go through it and kind of peel off all the excess old caulking. And some people like spray it and clean it and wipe it down to prep it for new caulking to be applied. So you can do that before you throw it on, because it's super easy to clean when it's just on its side like this. All right, so I put it back on. And just, both of those guys are sticking out, so I'm gonna put the washers on. Then I'm gonna do a test to make sure it's actually fitted and water is going down the pit to hell that you saw. So I'm gonna fill it back up with water and flush it and make sure no water comes out from the sides there. And then once that's done, I'll start applying the caulking. Okay, so I just tested it out. I filled up a bucket and I just poured water down in there. And that's just to push water through without resetting up the whole tank, because if it did start leaking, I'd have to take it all apart again. So that's just a quick way to test that. And there's no leaks on the side, which is great. So I think it's perfectly aligned. Also, another thing I should note is as I was tightening these screws, I tightened one a little bit and then went to the other one, tightened that one a little bit, and just back and forth, and I gauged it. I listened to it closely, felt how the amount of resistance that's in the bolt, and never want to tighten it too tight. To crack the whole thing would just be terrible if you come all this way. So slow and easy, checking each one. Another thing is that these caps here, they don't fit because it's a new one, so you actually have to cut it. I'm not gonna do that right now because it's late and I want to eat dinner. So I'm gonna wait to do that later, but just so you know, you might have to cut it to fit the cap. I think the caps are just aesthetics, you know, it's just to cover it up. No one's gonna come in at night and just try to unscrew your toilet, so, well, maybe, I don't know. So I put the tank back on and I'm gonna screw it in a second. Just wanted to show you, this is where the water screws in. So don't turn it on until you're ready to fully test it, but just wanted to show you this is where it is. Okay, so everything should be back together now up here. So I've tightened the screws that attach the tank to the bolt, and now the water is back in place. So let's turn it on, and when I do so, you're gonna see water start coming out of there. So basically the toilet is thinking, I was just flushed, I need to be refilled right now. So it's just doing that. As you can see, the water line will slowly start to rise. And then this guy, that floater right there, will slowly start to rise. And then turn this lever and then to tell it to stop. So I'm gonna do one of those cool editing tricks where I'll snap my fingers and we'll be right at it. All right, there it is. So now I'm gonna do another flush check for the tank to make sure everything's flowing through together. Also, you can see the flap open, the water went through, pushed it out there. It should be going down. And no water's coming out. This is what we want to see. So yeah, it's good to go. Now, actually comes the hard part. We start caulking. All right, so if you're unfamiliar with caulking, here is caulking. It's totally closed up here, so what I'm gonna do to open this is to get a knife and cut it open. When you cut it, you actually are like making the hole that the caulking exits from. So you gotta be careful, you don't wanna cut it like down here and have like a massive hole. You can also angle it so it comes out only in one side, and that could be used to for your caulking gun. The caulking gun is like this. Just too small. Like that. And then there's this lever here that you push up, and then each time you pull it, the lever pushes forward and then pushes caulking out. They're also equipped with a fancy little guy. This little wire thing, basically. I don't know what to call it. I don't do this for a living. And that helps you clean out the caulking through that way. Another thing that you should know is that before you open some caulking, of course when you open it, you cut it open, right? So you can't close it. But if you have a nail, what you can do is once it's open, you push it forward a little bit in the caulking gun, and a little caulking will come out, and then you just push the nail down into it, and that will harden and create a seal so the rest of it stays liquid, or viscous or whatever. And then this is like a stopper basically, and then you just pull it out when you're ready to use it again. I don't know if it was designed for a nail or not, but always have a nail on you. So you can see a cut open, a little hole there. And it's actually pretty cool. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. Okay, you can't, but there's little measurements on it to see where you cut, which is pretty great. Yeah, so I just clip it on in. And let's try this out. Caulking's a little hard. You'll see in a second. Now when you're caulking, you want to actually keep a space open in the back of the toilet. Also, it's hard to reach, so it makes it easier. But that is a signifier in case the seal fails and water starts to leak out. You know it's time to change the seal. So just don't caulk it all the way. You can hear it coming out maybe. There it is. So as you can see, the hard part is try to make it even, but just do your best. You can also reapply it, and you're going to smear it together in the end, so it doesn't have to be a perfect even line as soon as you hit it. It's definitely a skill I need to work on doing. Just a spot there. Alright, as promised, I'm going to push a little bit out. There you go, that's good. Take your nail, just slide on in. Then when you're done, just take it, pull it out. There you go. So the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna wet your finger a little bit and just swipe it on down. You're gonna notice a very gross line, but I can come back and clean that up. Just wanna make it all look good at this moment. Yeah, that's very gross, but again, I can come back and just clean it up. So you're gonna have plenty of paper towels because you're gonna have a goopy finger. So just wipe it on up. So I've tried to clean up the caulking the best I could just by scraping around it. I even used a sponge over there and sponged it and just kind of wiped it down a couple of times. But to really get the fine stuff, a razor blade is really helpful. There's also other tools that have that can hold razor blades, so whatever you feel comfortable with. But yeah, you just hop on in and cut away. This will also be easy when it dries too. You can still cut it when it dries. I don't know if it will be easier or not. But Nelly came for emotional support. Okay, he's leaving now. Bye, Benelli. But moreover, that is pretty much it. So I just wanted to say, I also just learned how to do this. Like, I Googled stuff, I watched videos. You do have the power to do this. I learned about it today. So, yeah, just try it out, ask people, look around, you know, the answer's always there. You don't need a landlord to do this for you. You can do it for you. And there are some jobs that you definitely need, and some people who aren't able to do this, and that's fine. But at least thank your plumber. But you could be that plumber, so thank you.